Don Giovanni, Don Juan, or The Marble Guest. Italian sentimental grand opera, the greatest and most popular of the operas founded on the Spanish drama El Burlado de Sevilla y Convirada de Piedra by Tirso de Molina. Music by Johann Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart, whose masterpiece it is. Book by Lorenzo da Ponte. First production, Prague, 1787. The scene is Seville, in the middle of the 17th century. Characters: Don Giovanni, a licentious young nobleman, baritone. Don Octavio, betrothed to Donna Anna, tenor. Don Pedro, the commandant, bass. Leporello, servant of Don Giovanni, bass. Mazzetto, a peasant. Donna Anna, daughter of Don Pedro, soprano. Donna Elvira, a lady of Burgos, deserted by Don Giovanni, soprano. Zerlina, betrothed to Mazzetto, soprano. Peasants, musicians, guests, servants, dancers, and demons. Act 1. From the courtyard of the commandant's palace at Seville, by night, the wicked Don Giovanni attempts to enter the apartments of the beautiful Donna Anna. Surprised, she cries for help, and Don Giovanni tries to escape, but the girl pursues him in order to penetrate his disguise. Her father comes to her aid and is fatally wounded by Don Giovanni, who, with his servant Leporello, escapes. Donna Anna, overwhelmed with grief at the death of her father, begs Don Octavio to avenge him. Don Giovanni and Leporello are at an inn on a lonely road outside the city when a lady comes in a carriage. Don Giovanni, ever attentive to a beautiful woman, approaches her deferentially and is confronted by Donna Elvira, whom he has recently deceived and deserted. She denounces him, and he is glad to make his escape, leaving Leporello to cover his retreat. Leporello, as shameless as his master is base, taunts the angry woman by reading from a diary a list of Don Giovanni's social conquests. The disclosures he makes horrify Donna Elvira, who departs vowing that she will have vengeance upon the profligate. Near the palace of Don Giovanni, in the suburbs of Seville, a rustic wedding party is making merry. Mazzetto and Zerlina are about to be married. Don Giovanni appears and, laying his eyes upon the fascinating Zerlina, plots to win her. He has Leporello take the entire party to the castle for entertainment, but he himself manages to detain Zerlina, offering to fight Mazzetto when he protests. Flattered by his compliments and attentions, the girl is almost yielding, and they are about to go off together when Donna Elvira, who has been watching, surprises the pair and takes Zerlina off with her, leaving Don Giovanni chagrined and confounded. Donna Anna and Don Octavio enter, having come to enlist Don Giovanni's aid in apprehending the murderer of Don Pedro. While he is pledging them his help, Donna Anna recognizes him as her night assailant and her father's murderer by his voice. She says nothing, however, until the gay night has left them. Then she tells Don Octavio. When they have hastened away, Don Giovanni and Leporello enter, and the latter relates how Donna Elvira, taking Zerlina to her friends, attempted to tell them what sort of man Don Giovanni was, but that he succeeded in getting her outside of the gate and in locking it. Their sport over the affair is great, and Don Giovanni orders a feast for that very night. Within the garden of the palace, Zerlina, restored to Mazzetto, is trying to appease his anger, and at length she succeeds. As they leave the garden to go to the dance within the house, Donna Elvira, Donna Anna, and Don Octavio enter, masked and disguised, and pledge themselves to work together for the downfall of the wicked nobleman. Within the ballroom, Don Giovanni is still trying to win Zerlina, and his wiles are so successful that at last she goes out with him. Soon her cries for assistance are heard, and Mazzetto and the masked trio rush to her aid and denounce Don Giovanni for their various grievances, while he, with drawn sword, defies them and escapes. Act 2. On a moonlit night, Don Giovanni and Leporello enter the square before the house of Donna Elvira. The Don is eager to make love to a pretty servant maid whom Donna Elvira employs, and is planning how to get the mistress out of the way. As she is sitting at her window, he speaks to her, feigning repentance and grief. He and Leporello exchange cloaks and hats, so when she comes down to talk with him, the Don makes Leporello meet her. He then raises an outcry that someone is approaching, and the two are frightened into running away. Thereupon, Don Giovanni serenades the servant. But Mazzetto and a group of armed villagers enter, seeking the Don, whom they intend to punish for his crimes. He then pretends to be Leporello, and helps them find and seize the supposed Don, contriving to escape while they discover that their prisoner is the servant, not the master. In the cathedral square, where stands the statue of the murdered commandant, Leporello and his master meet and relate to each other their experiences. As they talk, the statue speaks to Don Giovanni. Though Leporello is greatly terrified, the bravado of the Don does not leave him, and he boldly invites the spirit that speaks to dine with him at his castle. Later, in the banquet hall, the merrymaking is at its height when a loud knocking is heard. Terror-stricken, the guests witness strange retribution fall upon their debonair host. The commandant appears and strides toward Don Giovanni, who is still fearless and defiant. The spirit takes him by the hand, and together they sink through the opening earth, amid flames, into the arms of demons.